Hello, Paul. How are you?
Hi, Jacqueline. How are you? I hope you had a wonderful weekend.
I did. I just want to apologize to anybody listening if I am screaming in your ear. I am holding my microphone today in my hand, so I'm doing my best to make sure that we don't have any weird noises. But if you do hear anything, that is why.
Are you going to sing?
See, that's what it really feels like I should. Like I'm holding it like a pop
Yeah,
star
yeah,
here. I'm
yeah.
like, I am going to save our sweet listeners from that torture. But instead, I could take us through the headlines. Last week, our cover story was an episode of The Directors, which is the other segment of the Cancer Letter podcast. This time, we had John Bird from UPMC and Andrew Chapman from Jefferson, or Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center at Jefferson Health. And they talked about catastrophism, avoiding catastrophism, and using bridge funding to keep labs open in this sort of uncertain funding moment. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But let me just go through the headlines in completion. So our second story was our coverage of NCI Director Anthony Latai's talk at AACR, the annual meeting, and he described a new screening initiative project and prevention project. So I'm going to let Paul talk a little bit about that in more detail because I actually haven't had the chance to really catch up. So I will be learning along with you. And then we had some really
the thing.
No, I did. I haven't edited that yet. No.
Oh, so I was the one who edited.
That was not what I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was you.
Right.
That was just you and Sarah. That was the.
All right.
But the other two, the next two stories were really fun. These were the ones that I focused on more last week. Was the HPV and cervical cancer awareness comic book that came out of Global Oncology. Global Oncology is a volunteer organization that looks to improve outcomes globally. Global oncology. Yes, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, the story that we wrote was about specifically the HPV vaccine and screening. And they are still in the works of creating other comic books for other cancer types and in other countries. This one was geared toward Nigeria specifically. But it's really lovely. It's just I don't even know if I can do justice to it, but the art in that story is really cool because obviously it's a comic book. So definitely would check that out. Like visually. And then our next story was a guest editorial about a film festival that features only survivorship stories or stories from films from survivors. So that was really, really wonderful. There was such incredible, like moving still photos from the films. I want to watch them so badly. But it was, it's called the Remission Film Festival and it was in New York, April 17th. So check that one out as well. And then we had a guest editorial by Robert Peter Gale about sort of what the data shows about the impact of the Chernobyl accident on cancer incidence globally. So he said that, based on a sort of review of the literature, he finds that there really hasn't been sufficient evidence to show that. And that if that is sort of the reason to deter people from using nuclear power as a way forward and now I'm going into energy world. So that is not my beat at all. But if as a way forward, cancer incidence shouldn't necessarily be, or cancer incidence from nuclear accidents shouldn't necessarily be the biggest concern. Now, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Life moves fast. It's fierce, persistent, determined. At City of Hope Cancer Center, they are too. Their groundbreaking research and discoveries have impacted millions of lives globally. They're moving science forward with the hope, passion, and speed every diagnosis deserves for a cancer-free future. City of Hope, pursuing cancer cures at the speed of life. Learn more at cityofhope.org. So that is the issue from last week. Paul, I know that we talked earlier this morning about sort of what was interesting about the directors. I'm going to let you do it for a little bit, but as always, I'm going to keep you a little short just because I do want people to actually listen to the directors itself. So only sneak peeks.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, exactly.
Yeah, we won't tell you how it comes out. Yeah. Who wins?
The end. Yeah, who wins? I'm picturing an MMA fight.
Contest.
Yes.
So I got to me, this was a really interesting episode because it kind of validates the original idea for starting this, for starting the directors. Well, you might argue that the Webby nomination was another, and this is after really a year of this, less. So when I was talking to Andrew Chapman and John Bird, they both confirmed something I've been hearing for the past 3 or 4 months. And by the way, this is kind of the whole reason we started this, is that we can talk to cancer center directors and ask them, what is it that's keeping you up at nights? And then stuff comes up. And this is a way of broadening the sort of the coverage of the National Cancer Program from just the NCI director or just NCI or division directors to just the entire universe, which actually is, really massive amount of NCI money. Like I think 80% goes through cancer centers at one point.
Yeah.
So it's huge. And so these are very important people who, when they see something, and they tell us that's something we should hear. So for the past 3 or 4 months, I've been hearing from directors that they've been resorting to bridge funding to keep the labs open, and I'm starting to think, that's really interesting. And the story is kind of growing on me. I'm keeping it in the back of my mind and whatever, and then it just occurs to me that, wait, did you ever do this before? And they both said no. So or not very much at least. So there's this kind of a picture that's emerging that cancer centers are doing this. And it obviously cries out for a survey, to find out just how much of that is being done. It's also part of a broader story that a lot of the payments are late, and they haven't been made. And that from NCI on grants and contracts. What does that mean? That means that institutions are basically lending money. It's not institutions, then institutions. Which, by the way, is, it's Tony Latai is saying this is the reason for that is the government was shut down. Yeah. And another reason might be, and that's me, not Dr. Latai. The other reason might be is that a lot of people got doged who shouldn't have been, and that whole thing is, and I guess it's also new structures for review, like them or not. They're going to take a little bit of time, not review, but actually disbursement of funds. Where is it slowed down, the payments? But in any case, I have no idea. We're on it. We're trying to actually, and we're not just trying to, we'll succeed at covering this thing fairly, which is, just look at the events as they are occurring and not really going, catastrophizing about it. But the results are, a lot of institutions are deciding whether to keep to lend money essentially on short-term basis to NCI and essentially, or to, offer bridge funding. Planning is a little bit difficult because I've been hearing from my friends at cancer centers saying that they especially have a hard time now with grants. So training grants are really like, how do you plan? But I do believe that everybody will get paid. That's my opinion, and it is based on reporting, but it's still opinion. Yeah. So opinion is not always a dirty word. So
Not for podcasters, for journalists. Maybe.
No,
No.
that's our currency. That's our gold standard.
It's opinion.
Opinion. No, but actually, I don't think we're trafficking in opinion or catastrophism.
No.
No, I do believe that in this case, it's keeping stability is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but I just think it's
please.
important, it's a way to think about it is less about catastrophizing and more just like facilitating a, a big conversation, right? Like a group conversation across these leaders, right? And across like not even necessarily leaders, just like people in the cancer centers as we're publishing, these directors being like, hey, this is weird. I'm noticing this. And then, Latai can see it potentially. And, like it's just a
Sure.
bigger, it's a feedback loop. It doesn't have to be sort of this like catastrophizing lens. It can just be, hey, this is, because regardless of, Doge did make an impact, and so it's like we have to sort of figure out how to either get back to normal or just get back to good in this new system, in this new world. And it wasn't like you said, there was the longest government shutdown in American history was within these last 6 months that Latai was there. And yeah, I've heard him talk about this too, where he's talked about like a normal 90-day delay, sort of a lag time that has just been kind of everybody has been accustomed to that. And now that things have been disrupted, it's just sort of this like weird kind of domino effect with these normal bureaucratic delays being extended. But like you're saying, and like I think it was Andrew Chapman who said it, right? It's like, that's all true and fair and good, but also we don't want labs closing because of poor timing, so it's a feedback loop. Is my point.
Also, the training, right? The training is really important, and that's another one of those important issues. And the cooperative groups are being paid. I mean, I was told that the checks are in the mail, as it were, not quite like that, but transfers of money are being initiated. Yeah. So I think it's gonna come through.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, I think a lot of the coverage by people I generally respect has been a little more catastrophic because that sells papers, but I think it actually does harm to somebody who's trying to do a good job of it.
Yeah.
So,
we have certainly been spreading his message of stability for sure. So, and also and the messages from the cancer centers that we need our payouts. It's both.
No, you just have to be fair about the entire thing, and that's the only way I know how to do this job. And I haven't had another job ever. So, I mean,
well, technically not never. Yeah.
As a journalist, I've never not been a journalist.
Gotcha.
Not since college.
So
except for the times I was working for a moving company or selling ice cream out of an ice cream truck, I've always been a journalist.
Love that. Well, and a novelist, writer, right?
Yeah, I'm a novelist as well, but that's
Well, speaking of art and kind of shifting to those types of conversations, I would love to talk a little bit about the comic book story and the film festival story, maybe even just kind of together talk about why, because I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast, sort of our philosophy when it comes to having more like artistic stuff in the rag, to pull from your vocab, Paul. I know that you've always talked about that. So you brought this global oncology story to us. So I don't know and it was a while ago, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would love to hear sort of why you were excited about the comic book angle. And
Well, I'm kind of like, I'll have to go a little bit broader than that. The cool thing about this job, which is why it's great to be a journalist, here is that you're doing a police beat, you're doing investigative, you're doing lifestyles, you're doing just pretty much everything. That's kind of and that's during just any week. Oh, regulatory beat, just name it all. It's all there. And art is a big part of our lives, and a big part of how we communicate. And So whenever somebody gives me an art story, I go nuts, and then I either do it myself or try to pawn off on you guys, or or extend it to you and you pawn it back off on me or something.
Yes,
But
one of
this
those
time you
things.
actually took one. So why
Yes.
did you take that one while you rejected so many other excellent stories that I sent you away?
I'm being an editor, Paul. That's what you want. No, no, no. This story, this story is actually, it has kind of an interesting answer. Maybe it would only be interesting to me, but this story was, I mean, I think the comic book is just sort of like you're saying. I think anytime we get to do sort of a more artsy story, we jump on it just because, like you're saying, like having sort of this diversity of topics, I think makes us a lot stronger and it's more enjoyable both for the writers and the readers, I think, so having this, I'm fully in agreement. But this story in particular was interesting because we had been covering sort of these recent advances in the HPV screening space, cervical cancer screening and HPV screening space. And yeah, we were going to do this as a B story that week. And that felt like appropriate and nice, like complimentary. And then, it was just, I forget exactly what happened, probably just too much work. And so it got pushed to the next week and that's great as well, whatever. But it was just, I don't know, as I was writing it, it just changed from being sort of like a complimentary story to the larger HPV story to its own thing. It just, I don't know, writing it took me forever, Paul knows. But I just ended up feeling really like connected to the material, I guess. And I think the one thing about the HPV story from the previous week that Claire did was that it gave me sort of that background to appreciate how important this comic book is and how it fits into the cervical cancer space, I guess. Because I'm not really familiar with that area of oncology as much, definitely not as much as Claire. And so for me to come in and read Claire's story and be like, oh, okay, this is a preventable cancer, like it is, or like nearly 100%, right? Like 99% preventable with screening, vaccination, and follow-up. And yet, like, people are dying every hour in Nigeria, right? Like it really just hit for me for some reason. I don't know exactly what happened, but and so yeah, so I've ended up being really sort of like moved by it. And same thing happened with the Remission Film Festival story. Actually, it's a guest editorial, but I ended up just getting really sort of involved and interested in the editing process of that one as well, and the photos and thinking through how we were going to present the story. So I don't know, all that rambling to just say that it was fun, and I think it just maybe. And this is something that happens anytime I tell people what I do. I'm like, I'm a journalist and I focus on oncology. And people are always like, ooh. And I'm like, yes, like oncology is very serious and, like patient stories are devastating and we do those and we want to do honor to those and all of these things, right? But that's really not, like, I would say the majority of our job is to cover sort of like patient stories all the time. We are really more in like the trade side, right? Like the business side. So I find that anytime we can do things that are a little bit more like on the human side, I think I kind of get excited in general.
What I loved about that story was, first of all, there was no way it wasn't going to get done because the art was amazing, right? Because it's just comic book art is always amazing. Comic book art in a comic book that is really calibrated to address to communicate with people in Nigeria is incredible. And then as you started reporting, you told me that there's a doctor character in there who is Funmi Olapati, which it was really said, oh my God, that's so cool. Because, and then you called her and she said, yeah, it's great. And it was great. So it was just really fun to see that kind of also a role model of Funmi Olapati. My God, she's awesome.
I know.
She's just
I
awesome.
know.
So,
and the comic of her is so cute. It's such a little, she like comes in and she's like, none of your ideas are correct to these like kids who don't understand it. It's just so sweet and good.
It's like talking to her, which is always fun. She's great. So and it's just this kind of I don't know. It was a very smart, sophisticated comic novel essentially, or comic book, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And just seeing that it's being done is incredibly cool. So
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah.
And actually, it was there. I was actually what I also liked is that it took you forever to write it,
Forever.
which
Forever.
was great because that means you really cared. And then every word, it left almost no work for me as an editor. It was like, oh, okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, at least I would delivered that. That's
Oh, you totally did. It was just the beauty of the story.
I just sat there being like, I need to, like, with like the first four paragraphs, I just sat there for hours being like, I need to get this. Like, I know there's a puzzle like ready to be set, like I know it's gonna happen, but it just had to make it through the insanity of my brain first. So,
Right.
but yes.
Well, but I mean, the really cool thing about this is that, we're not bored.
No, no, we are not. We are not bored.
Yeah, we're
And
not bored. I hope our readers aren't bored.
how
That
can you
was
be bored with Dr. Olapade in comic form? That's the point.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah, no, it's really an incredible thing to see,
Yeah.
and just so much else happened this week that was just sort of an ordinary week. We don't really have a total like, oh my God, story this week, and most weeks we really don't need them because there's
Yeah.
so much
So
happens
much.
that's so interesting, and
Yeah.
it's a great time to be a journalist.
Indeed it is, Paul. Thank you for being with me today. And listeners, I will see you next week.
Right.